Okay. Well, this is new, fun, and exciting. We are live. I am live. I am all out here in the shop. And with no one in the stream yet, it's even more insane because I'm by myself talking to effectively nobody about nothing. Here we are. But I wanted to get something out there because it is a of a week here at the studio. Walker, my good friend, good buddy, my video editor extraordinaire, he has been out of town this week with his family, which is great. You know, he doesn't spend a whole lot of time with his family these days, so go do it. I hope he's having a blast. I encourage all of you to take time off if you can stand it, because you know, as you saw with me, burnout's real. It's important to take some time for yourself. But you know, I had some plans to get a video out, like a produced video out. I still know how to edit videos. I used to do it a lot, but just didn't work out. I was selling a few vehicles that I own personally this week, and a lot of my time got robbed with that whole process. In fact, today I just got back from selling my truck. It was a '04 Nissan Titan. I was stuck in a loan office for like 2 hours while this nice couple filled out all the paperwork to get their loan so that they could pay me a check to buy my truck. So that wasted 2 hours of my day. And yesterday, something else happened. Who knows? Excuses are pointless. I just wanted to touch base with you guys, say, hey, let you know that we will resume normal scheduling next week. But for now, it's, you know, 4 o'clock on a Friday. I think I was going to mess around with some small parts that I'm making here with my TIG welder and some other things for a customer. But you know what? I just had an idea. I might do a shop tour real quick. I know the title says something TIG welding. Wonder what the live chat. Well, what's up, Mike? Hello from Alabama. I might as well give you guys a tour of the studio because I don't know. I'm sorry for all the vertigo. My viewers hate it when I walk around and shake the camera, and I get it. Let me put it in the holder here. That way it's not as crazy. Okay, it can be a little stable. So I'm walking through the shop, and I figure it's probably not the easiest to get a sense of what the space looks like on the you know, in our videos, because there's little cuts here and there and it's produced. So I just realized also that the title says TIG welding. My TIG welder is very loud. The Everlast TIG welders are quite loud. So I may not be welding while talking to you guys because you wouldn't be able to hear anything. But why don't I go outside, show you guys what the building looks like from the outside in case you haven't seen it. And then we can walk through a little bit and I can give you a tour of how everything's going. Yeah, that'll be a good substitute for some content. So I'll flip the camera around. This is the building I'm in. So this is downtown Roanoke. Over there is my favorite brewery, Golden Cactus Brewery. You should totally check that out. But this is Rohr Avenue. So Groves Automotive is my neighbor. They are fantastic people. If you're ever in Roanoke and you need your car worked on, definitely go to Groves. Here is Lift Arc Studios, the former Price Filler machine shop. This building was built in 1917, making it over 100 years old. The outside is largely original, if you couldn't tell already. This is Wilson, our 2000 Chevy CK work truck. It used to belong to a metal sculpture artist in town who painted it up like this. People ask me what my inspiration was for the paint all the time, and I have no idea. I think it was modeled after some famous German artist. People say the Partridge Family all the time, but I'm a little too young to have watched the Partridge Family, so, you know, make your own conclusions on that one. But this is a great little work truck. Here's the outside of the building. It's a little shotgun building. I'm leaving the sign because it was hand painted in the 60s or 70s, you know, and I would just break my heart to paint over that. But I put some stickers on the window so you can find me. But you come on in here. Here's what the office looks like when you come over here. We got the table I built here. You guys saw that get built. Pretty cool. The base is looking great. It's holding up nice. The top was reclaimed pine and oak from the mezzanine that used to be up in there. So that's all 100-year-old probably wood that we saved. Little lunch area, camera storage, Walker's editing bay, and my desk. And you know, we got 15-foot ceilings everywhere, so it's a nice place to be. And then you walk in here, shout out to some local businesses. I'm trying to fill the door up with stickers. Walk in here, and here's the shop. We got metal storage racks over here. I got those from Black Dog. They were just out in the yard. I want to do some more work to this. I want to add shelves in between the current shelves so I can spread this stuff out a little bit. Not the most organized thing right now, and of course all the rusty stuff was the stuff that I saved from the shop. What little bit of wood that we store stays over here. You know, a bunch of dunnage. Every time I get steel from the steel place, they're stacked on the truck with dunnage, and the guy's always like, "Do you want these?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Coming to the first tool, this is a 1950s, I'm guessing, Johnson bandsaw. This was one that we saved from the shop. There it is, the Model J Johnson bandsaw. I got custom blades made for it so we can still use it. It's kind of a pain. I'll be honest, it is tough to use because the spring is not strong enough anymore, so you kind of have to ease it down. And obviously mitering would be a pain because you have to undo the clamps and move them around. So this is a straight cut bandsaw that we use for things that we can't fit in our chop bandsaw. So this is kind of a yard ornament, but it's a functional one, and it's 3-phase. And my favorite part about it is this happy little motor. Look at this happy little motor. It looks like a little happy pig. It's a 3-phase motor. It's incredible. Still works. Hums like a sewing machine. Look at that. All this gear reduction. Smooth. They don't make them like that anymore, folks. And then over here is a bunch of stuff. This whole wall actually is stuff that is stored from the machine shop, things I have yet to go through. Bunch of small fasteners and bits and bobs. Machines I have yet to put back into action that I may not. This is a horizontal belt sander that I'm actually willing to part with. It's a 3-phase. It's a beast. I think it used to belong to a model maker. You can change out these little profiled end pieces. This is graphite sheet that the sandpaper actually slides on. So kind of a specialized piece. A few different things down there, but I'd let that go for a few $100 if someone could use a 3-phase horizontal belt sander. So comment down below if you want that. Here's some old, this is the forklift that is still on loan to me from the guys over at Black Dog. It's a Lindy. Super complicated, expensive German forklift that's kind of a pain in the butt to use, but you know, complicated forklift is better than no forklift, so we got that going for us. And here are 2 old machines that I don't use anymore. This is or I've never used actually, these were in the machine shop. This is an American Tool Company radial drill press from probably the late 1800s. And this is a Brown & Sharp horizontal milling machine that I believe is from the early 1900s. It's the number 1.5 Brown & Sharp milling machine. There is one, as I'm told, there is one just like this sitting in the Smithsonian Museum somewhere. But what the heck does that mean to me? I have no use for it, and above me is the old line shaft system that does still work. It's not wired up right now, but all these old machines used to run off big canvas belts from the ceiling, and you know, so I have those. Still trying to figure out what to do with them. Back here is the sort of wood shop, even though we don't really do any woodworking in here. It's just nice to have a table saw, whether you're cutting plexiglass or ABS or a little bit of wood. A lot of times, it's a little fabrication trick I use. If I need to space something off the workbench a certain distance, and I know that distance, I will just come over here and take a 2x4 and cut custom spacers on the table saw. Because it's quick, I can do it fast, and I can use my one-time use custom spacers, and that helps a lot. Instead of trying to clamp or shim or something, just cut some 2x4s to the height you need. It'll suspend your work off the table the height that you need. You can do your piece, you can weld everything together, and you can throw them away. Here is a gate that I will show off. This is a gate that Steve is working on right now. It is beautiful. This is for a woman's back garden area who lives here in Roanoke. Steve built all this by hand, except the curls were purchased from King Architectural Metals. If you're a metal worker, you've no doubt heard of King. But what Steve did was modify them. He took some of them and stretched them out, made them increase the radius of a lot of these curls. He also took and added extra curls to some of them. He actually drew this out by hand and then copied it with metal, and I think he did a killer job. 2 posts, they're going to be secured with concrete footers down low. But the gate itself is made from like 1.25 by 1/2 inch flat bar. It is a heavy, heavy big boy. The hinges were bought from King. They're greasable hinges, super nice with ball bearings in them. And he made this custom latch. How cool is this? So you pull that, gate opens. It'll swing both ways because of that. I'm sorry for shaking, but it's not that easy to hold a phone. And then you push it in. Look at that. He even welded silicon bronze onto the mating surfaces so that it's smooth. So I just did a latch design similar to this and a gate that I built. Very pleasing. You can open it both ways that way, and you can push it close and it latches itself. So this is the kind of stuff we like to build here. Steve and I both are used to doing architectural metalworking because of our backgrounds. You know, I used to work at Black Dog Salvage, which was my dad's company, still is my dad's company here in Roanoke. And we were an architectural salvage and antiques company, and we would build custom furniture from salvage materials. And we had a huge collection of wrought iron gates and panels and metalwork that we would pull from to build custom designs. So things like this were very popular at Black Dog, and we spent a lot of time with torches and forges and complicated clamping jigs, making or modifying architectural metalwork just like this. Here at Lift Arc, we tend to build things more out of new material because, you know, we don't have a full yard full of old metalwork to pull from. So a lot of times we either buy stuff like this from King, which again, King Metals is a very good resource, or sometimes we will use old material if we can, you know, but the name of the game here isn't necessarily salvage, it's custom metal fabrication. So clean metal is always nice to work with. So obviously behind this gate that Steve's working on is the fab table. It's getting tons and tons of use. Love this thing. This is something we built here at the shop out of 3 pieces of 5x10 1/4 inch steel. And we cut them all out on our Shop Saber CNC plasma cutter. You guys have been watching the channel. You obviously have seen the Shop Saber. What's up, Di Power? I enjoy your videos, mate. Keep them coming. Thanks, Di from Wales. What's up? Man, that means a lot. It's really cool to know that we got some viewers over in the UK. Personally, I've never been across the pond, but I would love to. I'm a huge fan of Top Gear, the good one, the British one. And I feel like through that show, I kind of got to know a little bit about the UK. Just a little bit, the countryside and the fact that it's cold and rainy all the time. But I know it's not always cold and rainy, and when it's not, it's beautiful, and I can't wait to experience it someday. But over here, this, of course, is the Shop Saber 5x10 plasma cutter. It's a Shop Saber Sidekick 10. I suppose it's a 2020 model. Shout out to the Knackler's Workshop, buddy that I connected with online. I sent him some stuff. This Shop Saber is great. We've got it outfitted. Let's see, how did you route the torch lead on the Saber? Okay, great. Good question. Let's take a look. So to start with, I'll run you through the whole thing. So the table's placed here, and that is the Hypertherm PowerMax 85 that powers it. And I built a shelf up there to hold it, and then I quickly realized that I can't reach it to change the settings. So now it's sitting on a filing cabinet. I'll figure that out later. But obviously, I'm not going to say obviously, because not everybody has had to set up a CNC plasma cutter. But one thing that needs to make its way to the table is this big lead coming out the front of the plasma cutter that carries the arc voltage and the compressed air to the torch. So that has to make it. The ground has to make it to the table. It doesn't actually have to go to the head of the torch, but it has to go to the table. And the control wire here on the back of the Hypertherm, well, this doesn't come with the Hypertherm, this is something Shop Saver built, but that has to make it as well. But, so the only thing that needs to make it to the torch head is obviously that big cable. And on the back of most CNC machines, unless you built one yourself, there are these cable chases. This one has one for the X-axis and then one for the Y-axis. And before, when I first set the machine up, I had the big cable just dangling from the ceiling from some insulated cable sort of zip tie things. And that worked, but it was, you know, if I loaded a big sheet on here, it would get in the way. And the other thing too is that when you have a big piece of cable hanging down from the ceiling, when you move when the torch moves and stops moving, that big piece of cable is still moving and wobbling around, which can affect the precision of your cutting torch. I had all kinds of people reach out to me and tell me that that was not the right way to do that. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and did what I should have done in the first place, and that is route the cable through the chase. So recently I upgraded to the collision detection head on the Shop Saver, which I love. It has two proximity sensors that when this plate gets moved, either this sensor comes off the surface or this sensor comes off the surface, sends a signal via these two wires down to the control board, which of course tells the computer to stop cutting. It's as if you hit the emergency shutoff or the escape key. It functions the exact same. But so what I did is put the torch in the lowest possible position so I knew how much cable I would need. And then I just routed it up here. There's a little bit of extra play up here. And these things are kind of cool and kind of a pain in the ass. I'll try to show you one. These cable chases here, you can reach in. Let's see if I can do one. Oh, I think I broke it. No, I didn't. Well, anyway, if I had both hands, I could do that better. But they just pop up, and you have to start at one end, but you can go pop, 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 and open the chain up so that you can lay cable in here and then close it back. So that's how I did it. It took not as long as you would think. But so the control wires for the collision detection head and the giant lead for the torch, I ran through here, down here, and then through the Y-axis, and then underneath the machine. So now it's very clear. I have nothing in the way. I can move the torch all the way over to the end of the table, and I can load a sheet on here, a 5x10 sheet on here with the forklift. So yeah, that's how I did that. This was a poor attempt at trying to protect things with some painter's tape that is honestly laughable how that's coming off. Because when you put things on here with a forklift, your forks inevitably drag on the side. So I might put like some ABS or some Delrin or some hard plastic on there just to keep the machine in nice shape. That way, if I ever want to sell it or anything, you know, one less thing to try to explain. Water level's very low. I haven't done a whole lot of cutting lately. But anyway, that's all good. So loving this machine. It's great. Works awesome. Some cross guns I cut out for a client. This is the, for those wondering, this cabinet does not come with the computer. This is something I found from a friend of mine in town. But it's exactly what it's made for. It's a mobile computer, you know, rack. So there's a little tray here and the whole computer can stay in there. And there's even a little fan you can turn on to keep it from getting hot. And then so that obviously interfaces with the Hypertherm PowerMax 85. I love this thing. It is a beast. I love hearing the fans kick on because that means I'm pushing it hard. But this goes up to 85 amps, hence PowerMax 85. And it goes down to, I think, 25 amps. So nice range. 25 amps allows you to do some pretty precise stuff. If you're doing 18 gauge, 20 gauge, you do want to go lower than the factory settings just to make sure you don't blow huge holes into what you're doing. And obviously the only other thing I need to hook up now, or needed to, was air. So a lot of you guys are gonna have issues with how I did my air, but I run all my air from my compressor back there in the corner through 3/4 inch PEX lines up here to a hose reel that I then plug into that. The hose reel, I know there's far more air in there than I need to. I think I might do a manifold here and just directly plumb this. and then have that hose reel. But it's nice to have a hose reel at this part of the shop because otherwise I have 2 hose reels back there and back there. 099 stick. What kind of power is in your shop? So I have 223 phase here in downtown Roanoke. There are some shops around me that have 440, but I have, I'm not an electrician, but I think they call it a high leg delta. Not sure, but it's 3-phase, 220 here at the shop, which is great. 3-phase is nice. So the plasma cutter itself is actually the 3-phase model from Hypertherm. 3-phase is a little more efficient. You know, you can get a little bit more power out of less. But yeah, speaking of air, so I'll run you guys over the air system. Thanks for that question. I use PEX. Now PEX apparently has a max pressure of like 160, 170 PSI. I have my whole shop tuned to like 110 PSI, so I keep it well under the threshold. Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm using my cell phone because, you know, I had to. But I have 4 air reels around, and they all run back to this little manifold. You can call it a manifold if you want. And then back here, they run back to the air compressor. Steve and I built this little house for the air compressor. I need to put some sound deadening in there. And this air compressor is, you know, your home gamer special. This is the one I used to have at the shop at my house. This is an 80-gallon Ingersoll Rand. Don't ask me the model. I have no idea. I bought it used from a buddy of mine. There's the model of the compressor itself. They still sell parts and filters and oil for this. So I keep fresh oil in there. And then for the air dryer, I found this little guy on eBay. Not exactly sure what brand it is, but if you eBay air dryer, you will find exactly this. So this is a initial water separator. Still needs to be drained. And this one is a micro filter and water separator. Drain that. And this is full of desiccant. And desiccant, other than being a weird word, is this stuff. So this is indicating silica gel by Dry and Dry. Sounds like a law firm. But this stuff absorbs moisture. They're little blue beads. And so that last thing here gets filled up with those blue beads. And when they get full of water, they turn pink. And you can kind of see it through the sight glass. It is time to change these. But this works better than you might imagine. I know lots of shops have big fancy electric air dryers that run and you know all that. I cannot afford that yet. We got spoiled at Black Dog. We had a Kaiser air compressor with a built-in air dryer and everything. It was a screw compressor. It was dead silent, super nice. This thing, not dead silent. It is a piston compressor, as you can tell. And it's loud. That's why we put baby in a corner. And this plywood doesn't do the best, but it's better than having it out in the open. So compressor lives in here. That is 220 single phase, and then a main line comes out over to a distribution manifold up there, and then I have an air reel here, air reel here, air reel over there, and an air reel at the front of the shop for like filling tires and stuff like that. And I have an extra spot on this manifold if I want to tap into something later. But yeah, so to continue with the flow, thanks for the question. That's the plasma cutter and the airflow and the power. There's all the power boxes we had to redo when we redid everything. I love this kind of stuff. I love people that take pride in silly little things. The electrician that I hired, great guy, his name's Chris here in town. I just love people that care. Look at this. All of the lines are parallel and straight, and they branch off as they go down the shop. It's just so pleasing. I love when people care about what they do. So there you go. These are 2 salvage power panels that we got from Black Dog, and yeah, that's the original power coming in. So anyway, you come out of the office, just to reorient you guys. These are the double doors that you saw at the beginning of the video from the other side. Come out of the office, and this is the extent of the shop. This is the whole thing. So the air compressor we were just looking at is back there. Little wood shop, not really, kind of just table saw area over here. Plasma cutter is around the corner. Part storage that I'm working on, bits and things that were here in the machine shop. And back in this corner is where all the metal fabrication happens. So like I mentioned, this is the fixture table that we built, which is awesome. Shout out to Adam over there at Maker Table. Those guys are great. They are plasma sign gurus, and I bought the DXF files from them to do this. So I bought 3 sheets of 5x10 1/4-inch steel. I paid $50 for the DXF files. All I had to do was plug into my plasma software and set to cutting. There's 1,800 holes in the top of this thing, so you can imagine how long that took to cut out. It took, all in all, it took us about 4 days to build this table. But it cost us about $3,000 versus $8,000 or $9,000 for one of these. So if you have the means, do it. I saved myself about $5,000 doing it myself. And I use this table all the time. It's so great. One thing that's a pain though is I have yet to find any affordable like fixture clamps, so I made my own. These tables work by putting a clamp in the hole, finding a part that you want to clamp down, and then as you tighten the clamp, it rocks the clamp back in the hole, and then it binds in the hole, and that's what allows you to clamp things down. It's so amazing because you can clamp anywhere in the surface of the table instead of a classic table like this where you have to clamp to the edge of the table, and you can't clamp in the middle unless you weld something on there. I can't tell you, 15 years of fabrication, I probably wrestled with something like this. But yes, I do have to remount the hole. So here's what I did. And this is something that I wish I saw somebody explain before I did this. So obviously with plasma, I need to quit saying obviously because some of this may not be obvious. With plasma, I hope you can see it. There's a little taper to the hole, meaning as you go in the hole, the diameter shrinks. The walls are sloped. So what I ended up doing was buying, these are 5/8 holes, or at least they're supposed to be 5/8 holes. So what I ended up doing was Home Depot actually sold these reamers, not in the store, but online. And this is a tapered reamer. This is for like people that are out there building bridges and steel structures. These are supposed to help you align holes in flanges that need to be bolted together. So these are tapered reamers. This is a 5/8 tapered reamer. And I'll actually set the phone up here because not all these holes have been reamed. So really, I lay the part on the table, and about right at this point, probably half of them, that's not true. Maybe a quarter of them have been reamed out by now. So if I figured I want to put a clamp, and I'll show you what happens. I just happened to choose a hole that was reamed out. If I wanted to put a clamp out here, for instance, that hole has not been reamed out. So I take this reamer, not a whole lot of resistance, and now I can put my clamp in. So how did I come up with all that, you might ask? Well, Adam, again, over at Maker Table, has a whole video series about how to cut your own fixture table on a plasma cutter and how to get all the tolerances right. Kerf compensation and tolerance is a big point of discussion in the plasma cutter community. So you can either get the bottom of the hole to be the right diameter and then the rest of the hole is oversized, or you can get the top of the hole to be the right diameter and then the rest of the hole needs to be drilled out, the entire hole. The thing you need to remember is that when the plasma cutter cuts through the steel gets hardened because it's molten. It gets melted and burned away. That means you have a hardened hole now that you need to eat through. So plasma cutter cuts a hole that you now need to ream out. Well, the hole is hardened, and so if the whole thickness of the plate needs to be reamed out, you need to go through quarter-inch hardened hole. I hope that makes sense. So we opted for a Goldilocks formula. Our holes on this table are the right diameter about halfway down. And the way I figured that out was to do a bunch of test cuts with 5/8 holes. And on the Shop Saber, I was using the quarter-inch mild steel settings at 85 amps with the 85 amp consumables. The hypertherm was set to 85 amps. And so I would change my kerf I'm still using InRoute, which is a software that apparently now used to come with the Shop Saber plasma cutters. Apparently it doesn't anymore, but I couldn't tell you what comes with them. So we just played around with the curve compensation in the plasma cutting software until the middle of the hole, halfway down, was the right diameter. So that means, it's a long-winded way to say that this reamer only has to hollow out the bottom half of this thickness, so about an 1/8 inch. And not even that much. You know, here's one that hasn't been reamed, and here's one that has been reamed, and it's just, I don't know if you can see, there's a little shininess. It's like a 16th or an 18th of an inch. I mean, a 1/8 of an inch. So yeah, it's about, I think the kerf offset was like 0.05. Don't quote me on that. I think the video we did on our channel actually about making this table, I think I mentioned it there. But so yes, I have to ream out my holes. When I choose a hole to use, I have to grab my reamer and ream it out. But they were 50 bucks at Home Depot. Don't go to McMaster-Carr. You'll pay $300 for a reamer that does the same thing as one that I got on Home Depot for 50 bucks. These are the reamers that I got from Home Depot. 5/8. I don't know what all those abbreviations mean. Starts as a 1/2 inch, or it's a 1/2 inch shank, so it fits in a drill. Obviously, I use my Milwaukee drill. You do not want to ream these holes out with a hand unless you have a handle on it. You will break your wrist. I am not just saying that. I have reamed a few holes out with this without this handle on it, and I damn near broke my wrist because it caught and you're not ready for it and it just spins right out of your hands. So if you are reaming holes out of 1/4 inch steel, put the handle on your drill. I'm not usually the guy to warn you about safety stuff, but that can really ruin your day. So, all right, anyway, continuing with the shop tour, I won't take too much more of y'all's time. We have 18, 20 people hanging out, so what's up? For those just joining us, the beginning of the video started with a bunch of excuses explaining why we don't have a fully produced video this week, but this could be just as fun. I figured throughout the course of doing all these videos, you probably have kind of an idea of what the shop looks like, but now I'm doing a big official shop tour. So thanks to those that are hanging out and coming along. But like I said, this back corner is where all the metal fabrication happens. So fab table, Steve's current gate that he's building, it's beautiful. Over here, well, this is a 1940s Limpco, something 60-ton press. Yeah, 60-ton press that leaks like crazy. Looking to get this rebuilt. I don't know, you can't hardly find parts for these. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a 1969 Bridgeport knee mill. J-head. It is 230-volt 3-phase, and it's great. It is worn out beyond belief. This was made the same year we put a man on the moon, and that was a while ago. So the ways are sloppy. Things need to be tightened up. I know you can tune these things up and clean them and get them tight and right again, but right now, I'm not a machinist. If that wasn't already obvious, I'm a fabricator. So for my uses, this thing's great. It's basically drilling precision holes, doing some milling, but not a whole lot of milling. Pretty standard drill press, all manual. The power side feed does not work. It's been completely deactivated. But these are great. For those that don't know what a milling machine is, this is just a giant drill press. Watch Adam Savage's tested videos if you want to know more about these. They're great. Few things. This is a Harbor Freight grinder that I got to sharpen my tungsten for my TIG welder. 30 bucks. Nice little wheel. You can see I put my tungsten in a drill, use the wheel to sharpen it. I know I should get a tungsten sharpener, but those things are hundreds of dollars and your boy's not made of money, okay? So in the welding category, what do we have? Well, these are my babies. Oops. These are my babies. So I have my MIG welder and my TIG welder. Okay, question from 099 Stick. Do you think, no, don't go away, don't go away. I lost it. Do you think 200 amp single phase is good for one-man shop, plasma table, welder, compressor, and mill? Dude, absolutely. Just having 220 alone is huge. Because if you don't have 220, you have to deal with transformers and stuff, but then you're pulling all kinds of amperage through wires that really shouldn't handle it. You want to make sure you have a good service. You can have 220 volts in your shop, but if you don't have the capability of running a 50 amp or a 60 amp breaker, you need to make sure the amperage is the dangerous part about electricity. So you need to look at your motor plates. I'll give you a perfect example. So on this Bridgeport here, here's the plate. And if you can't see that, it's you can run it at 460 or 230. Right now it's wired for 230. The phase is going to be on here, right here. 3-phase, 60 hertz, which is in America, we have 60 hertz. If you're in Britain, I think it's 50 hertz. Horsepower rating and everything. But you want to look here, amps, 4.4 amps. So that's very low, but that's the beauty of 3-phase. It pulls less power because you have more, the pipe is bigger. You have more flow going through the pipe. That's the simplest I can explain that. But 220 single phase is plenty for a small shop. Yeah, man, TIG welder. So back to my welders. This is a 2020 model Everlast Power TIG 215 EXT. It's the most advanced welder I've ever owned. Well, that's not true. I had a Miller Dynasty for a little while, but it was actually on loan. I didn't own it. I'm a Miller guy. I'll say it every day. Team Blue has never let me down. I've learned how to weld on Millers. I've welded on Millers for over a decade, and the Miller welders are great. I cannot afford a Dynasty. I cannot justify $5,000 for a TIG welder. So I did my research. There's all kinds of brands out there, but I like Everlast because they're kind of in the middle somewhere. They're like the cheaper of the premiums or the nicest of the cheap, however you want to think about it. But this is an Everlast, like I said, Power TIG 210, I think, yeah, 210 EXT. Nice machine, it's very advanced. Yeah, there's plenty of guys that do reviews of these things and tell you how to work. There's no, to answer your question, there's no simple mode on this at all. And the instructions they come with are terrible. They're just poorly translated from Chinese or wherever, Taiwanese, you know, pick a country. But I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just saying they're poorly translated. But to Everlast credit, their YouTube channel is amazing. So if you buy an Everlast welder or even one that looks similar, I imagine it's quite similar, made in the same factory probably, if you know what I'm saying. But go to Everlast YouTube channel, and they got guys like Mark Winchester out on the West Coast and a lot of super talented welders that they, I hope, pay to make videos on how to set their machines up to weld certain things. They'll do, you know, basic aluminum settings, basic steel settings, how to do thin stainless, things like that. So definitely watch Everlast YouTube channel. I definitely had to, because when I first got this welder, I dialed in settings that I thought I was used to or that I liked, and my welds were horrible, terrible. And I immediately blamed the machine. There's a video somewhere where I apologize to the world for being an a-hole and criticizing the machine before I realized that it was actually me setting it up improperly. So yes, not the easiest machine to use, especially if this is your first machine. You were gonna feel like you're trying to defuse a bomb using this thing. But once you get it figured out, amazing machine, especially for the money. You cannot beat it. I have a bunch of torches for it. This is just a standard torch. I have a flex head torch that I use I have set up for aluminum. Nice little torch. You can point the head wherever you want. I run 100% argon through my TIG. And then over here is a 12 or 13-year-old Miller-Matic 212 MIG welder that has been, belonged to my dad, and now it's here at the shop. It is a workhorse. I love this welder. It has done everything that I've ever asked it to do. It's not the most powerful. It's not the most advanced. You know, it doesn't even have a digital readout. It has 2 dials, and that's it. And that's all you need. You don't need any more than that. Everyone, you know, MIG welding especially, good Lord, it's 2021. You need 2 dials on your MIG welder, and that's it. Voltage, wire speed. If you can't make a good bead with that, you do not need to bother buying a $5,000 MIG welder, because fundamentally it's all the same thing. You can put as much digital screen beauty lights on the face of it as you want. They all boil down to the same 2 settings, wire speed and voltage. So shout out to Miller. This thing, all I've ever had to do was replace a control board. It was $200 and I put a new torch on it. This is Miller's new generation TIG torch. Love it. Yeah, $400. that welder that's all I've had to do in probably a decade of owning that welder. So again, there's a reason why I am Team Blue, if you can't tell from my wardrobe collection. I have a small cutting torch set up. I don't use it a whole lot, but sometimes you need a torch or a blue wrench, they call it. Something gets stuck, something you want to undo something. Having heat to move metal in the way that you want to is awesome. So small little torch setup. These are the ones that you don't have to pay to rent. I actually own these bottles, so I don't have to pay the welding supply store all the time. And anyway, I'll wrap it up soon, but back here is some parts storage. I have a giant speaker with Bluetooth that I jam out to. This is my old 4x8 half-inch thick welding table. Some old toolboxes with some old tools in there. I have my collection of, which is getting restocked soon, my flat disc, cutoff wheel, grinding wheels, air tools. I have a collection of straight 90-degree die grinders, all kinds of stuff. You know, stuff and things and whatever. This is my baby. This is my toolbox I've had forever. I originally got it for working on cars and stuff in my house, and I needed a toolbox here, so it came in. I finally wrote on the drawer what the heck's in there, so I have to search for everything. Next to it is one of my favorite tools in the shop. This is a 1940s Porter vertical sander. It was back when board cable was made in Sierra, New York, everyone. The reason I know the 40s is tag that says Warfare or L100. I looked it up. What this means is that when we were at war in the 40s, World War II, the government reached out to tool manufacturers and said, hey, we need more tools to the war effort and to make them faster and cheaper, because we need to get tools into the hands of these factories that are made tanks and artillery and stuff. War production order L100 basically means that this machine, because it means this machine was not made as nice as they have liked to make it. It was made cheaper, and they cut corners so they could make tools faster and get them in the hands of the factories that were made for the war. I couldn't tell you obviously what corners they cut, because this, 80 years later is better than every vertical grinder that I've ever seen, cheaper than a few $1,000s. Oh no, I'm probably too far away from the router. Sorry for the bad internet connection. I hope that wasn't compromised. That was a fun point. But you know what? We're coming up on 45. I'll just give you a quick 1940s belt sander, 1940s depth press, 1940s Walker Turner vertical saw, and chop saw. So that's the cornerstone of all the fabrication back in there. That's it. So I'm on the way out. I'm going to wander across the street and have a beer with some friends of mine at Cactus Brewery. What's up, Tyler? Hello. I know he comes here. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It is awful hard being a one-man band, a owner, trying to run a business, trying to fabricate things to high quality for my customers, and trying to collect footage for a YouTube channel. So having interactions with you guys is awesome. It validates the effort to interact with the community. And I learned a lot about being on the show Salvage. That's based on my dad's company, Black Dog Salvage, and I'll always be working with Karen degree. So I don't mind. Most of the show as well is filmed with GoPros, but at least the nice new ones. So thank you guys for tuning in, hanging out. I hope that was satisfying. If you didn't yet know what the shop was, how the shop was laid out, or what it looked like. So that's as it sits today, July 7th, 8th, 9th, I don't know, 2021. Frank Grimm just recently discovered the channel. Appreciate the work you put into it. Thanks for the tour. Absolutely, man. I do it for you guys. It's super fun. Cheers to everyone out there. Stay safe. If you work with power tools, try to keep all your fingers. Respect equipment. Treat it as if it'll kill you. Thanks, Richard. I just want you to know that I recently discovered your channel. I think you're doing a great job. Dude, thank you so much, man. Holy cow. This is real. I feel like a real YouTuber. Talking to chat and whatnot. Drop a like in the chat. I don't know how any of that works, but Thanks again. If you want to buy a Lift Arc Studios t-shirt, go to liftarcstudios.com. The website is, I wish it was better, but you know, it's all with Squarespace and stuff. I just keep it simple and whatnot. Appreciate you guys. We're going to keep videos coming. Walker will be back in the studio next week. I've been collecting footage from some projects I'm working on, and he will be back up and running, editing some videos for you guys to enjoy. So thanks again. If you haven't, you know, subscribe, like, all that fun stuff, or not, I don't care. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Thank you guys for the support. See you later. Cheers. Have a beer with me. How do I stop this?